Do you ever find yourself rushing through a task not because you are late, but simply because stopping feels wrong? The body has slowed down. The calendar is quieter than it used to be. And yet, something inside still pushes, still hurries, still whispers that there is not enough time. Many people arrive at this stage of life carrying decades of speed. The world taught them that value meant productivity, that rest had to be earned, and that slowing down was the same as falling behind. And even when life naturally begins to ask for a gentler pace, the mind has not yet received the message. But what if slowing down is not a loss? What if it is an invitation? It is one of the deepest invitations life ever offers. Today, through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, we explore why rushing steals your peace and why learning to slow down may be one of the most meaningful things you can do in this season of life. From a young age, most of us are taught that success means moving faster, achieving more, and staying busy. Society rewards productivity. We admire people who are constantly working, constantly improving, and constantly accomplishing something. Over time, many of us begin to believe that our value depends on how much we get done. This mindset can follow us into our later years. Even when retirement arrives or the body naturally begins to slow down, the mind often continues operating at the same pace. Some people fill every hour with tasks, projects, and obligations because slowing down feels uncomfortable. When there is nothing to do, they may feel restless, anxious, or even guilty. But the Buddha saw life differently. He taught that endless striving does not lead to lasting peace. In Buddhist wisdom, a busy life is not necessarily a meaningful life. Activity alone does not create happiness. In fact, constant busyness can quietly distance us from the experiences that matter most: gratitude, reflection, and genuine inner peace. As we age, life offers a rare opportunity to question beliefs we have carried for decades. Do we really need to keep proving our worth? Do we need to earn the right to rest? The real challenge is not that the body moves more slowly than it once did. The real challenge is that the mind still believes it must constantly achieve, perform, and justify its existence. And as long as that belief remains unexamined, true peace will always feel just out of reach. If the mind still pushes us to rush, even when life has slowed, it is worth asking, what is it really afraid of? Often, rushing is not about getting things done. It is about avoiding something deeper. Many people fear slowing down because stillness forces them to face thoughts and feelings they have been avoiding for years. When life becomes quiet, loneliness may surface. Questions about aging may arise. Uncertainty about the future may become harder to ignore. This is why busyness can become a habit. As long as we are occupied with tasks and responsibilities, we do not have to sit with ourselves. We do not have to confront the reality that life is changing. Over the years, many of us build our identity around what we do. We see ourselves as workers, providers, achievers, caregivers, or problem solvers. These roles gave us purpose and direction. But as circumstances change, some of those roles naturally become less central to our lives. The Buddha taught that one of the deepest causes of suffering is Upadana, or clinging. We often think of clinging as holding on to possessions or relationships, but we can also cling to an identity. We cling to the image of who we used to be, the person who was always needed, always capable, always the one others could count on. And when that image begins to shift, the loss can feel profound. Perhaps you are not grieving your lost youth. Perhaps you are grieving the identity that youth once gave you, the feeling of being needed, the feeling of being productive, the feeling of being the person who could always do more. The Buddha offered another way. Not withdrawal from life, not laziness, but a gentle releasing of who we think we must be so that we can discover who we actually are. If clinging to an old identity creates suffering, what is the wiser path? The Buddha answered this through one of his most practical teachings, the middle way. Peace is not found in extremes, not in total withdrawal from life, and not in relentless striving. It is found in balance. One of the clearest expressions of this balance is what Buddhism calls right effort. Many people misunderstand effort. They assume that more effort always leads to better results. But right effort is not about doing more. It is about doing what needs to be done without the burden of anxiety, fear, or the need to prove something. Consider the difference between movement and rushing. Both involve action, but they feel completely different. Movement is natural and purposeful. Rushing is driven by inner pressure. Movement allows you to stay present. Rushing pulls the mind into the future before the present moment has even been lived. The same distinction applies to caring and worrying. Caring comes from love and responsibility. Worrying comes from fear and the need to control what cannot be controlled. One brings steadiness, while the other drains it. As we grow older, this distinction becomes especially important. There may still be responsibilities to handle, people to care for, and goals to pursue. The Buddha never suggested abandoning these things. He encouraged us to approach them with wisdom rather than urgency. Imagine taking a walk without feeling the need to arrive quickly. Imagine completing a household task without mentally racing ahead to the next 5 things on your list. Imagine having a conversation where you listen fully instead of waiting for your turn to speak. These are not small moments. They are the practice itself. One of the quiet gifts of aging is that it invites us to return to a pace that is closer to nature's own rhythm. Trees do not rush to grow. A seed does not become a mighty tree overnight. The seasons arrive exactly when they are meant to arrive. Spring never hurries towards summer, and autumn never resists becoming winter. Everything unfolds according to its own time. The human body is part of nature, yet many people spend years fighting against its natural changes. As we age, the body often asks for more rest, more patience, and a gentler pace. Instead of seeing this as weakness, we can learn to see it as an invitation. Life is not asking us to stop. It is asking us to move differently. This does not require a dramatic change. The deepest shifts often happen through the simplest practices. Eating more slowly allows us to truly taste our food. A mindful walk helps us notice the beauty that has always been around us, but that rushing made invisible. Spending quiet time outdoors reconnects us with rhythms older and wiser than our own worries. It is also worth noticing what we allow into the mind each day. Constant news, notifications, and noise compete for our attention from morning until night. The mind was never designed to absorb so much stimulation. The Buddha understood that mindfulness grows in silence, and wisdom appears when the mind is no longer crowded with distraction. Many people fear that a slower life will feel empty, but often the opposite is true. When we stop rushing, we begin to notice what we previously moved past too quickly. We hear more. We feel more. We become more present to the life that is actually here. Perhaps the slower your outer life becomes, the deeper your inner life can grow. What once felt like slowing down may actually be waking up. As we grow older, many of us begin to think about what we will leave behind. We often assume legacy is measured by achievements, by what we built, or by how much we accomplished. But when people remember us, they rarely think of our busiest years. More often, they remember how we made them feel. Today's younger generations are living under enormous pressure. Many struggle with stress, anxiety, and the constant feeling that they are never doing enough. In such a world, a calm and peaceful elder carries something rare. Their presence alone offers a different example of how life can be lived. The Buddha taught that true inner freedom is visible. A person who has learned to release unnecessary struggle carries a quiet wisdom that others can sense without being told. They do not need to give advice. Their peace becomes the teaching. This is one of the most beautiful possibilities of this stage of life. These years do not have to be a story of decline. They can become a time of quiet flowering, when the mind grows less interested in proving itself and more interested in understanding life as it truly is. Perhaps your purpose now is not to do more, achieve more, or become more. Perhaps your purpose is to embody something the world genuinely needs: patience, presence, calmness. Sometimes the most meaningful legacy is not what you accomplished. It is the peace you inspired in others simply by being who you are. The world will always find a reason to hurry you. There will always be another task, another worry, another reason to feel that you have not done enough. But the Buddha taught that peace is not waiting at the end of the to-do list. It is here in this moment, available to anyone willing to stop long enough to notice it. This season of life is not asking less of you. It is asking something different. Not speed, but depth. Not more doing, but more being. Not proving your worth, but resting in it. The beauty of slowing down is not that life becomes smaller. It is that life becomes clearer. And perhaps one day, when you look back on your journey, you will not measure your life by how much you achieved, but by how fully you experienced it. The greatest freedom of old age is discovering that you no longer need to rush, and that peace was waiting for you all along. If this message brought you some peace today, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need this reminder.